Welcome to another episode of Let's Rewatch, the show where we like to watch movies we loved in our youth and see if they're actually still any good. I'm Nick.
I'm Bret.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Ash.
And we are joined by a guest. His name is Ify Nwadiwe.
Yeah.
Stand-up comedian, actor, TV writer.
Yeah.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it's going to be a good time.
Anytime.
Do you have one of those crowns that you feel is your primary role?
No. It's really just, it's kind of like, you remember that dude we all kind of knew in high school who like all the girls fawned over and he only dated like the one who was giving him most attention? Like that's me. It's like whatever I'm having the most success with at the time, that's what I'm doing. So like if I book a writing thing, I'm a writer. If I'm booking more stand-up because I'm not getting any acting roles or writing gigs, I'm a stand-up right now. If I book something so anything that comes my way, I'm not picky. They're all fun.
It sounds like maybe in the moment you're doing a lot of stand-up. You're about to record a special.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to do my album, and it's so funny because when you do so many things, you do have to dedicate like most of your time into it. So like, if I'm doing a writing gig, then I'm just doing mostly writing stuff, and really what I have the most time for is like improv, since I don't have to prepare anything or sketch. But then I'll take a step back, and like the White Women guys will write it all. By the way, White Women is the name of my sketch group. I didn't realize like I have a basement full of
I have a harem.
And then they write all my sketches.
White Women guys.
White Women.
7 black guys. The name of our group is White Women.
Nice.
But so with stand-up, I haven't been doing it in a while because I was so consumed with writing. It just seems to happen that when you have a baby, you get concerned with steady money. Like you just can't be living that. But what you do is you just kind of lob that up into some savings, and then you just fly. But yeah, and now it's cool because I'm falling back in love with stand-up because now I'm doing it more, and the wife's giving me the green light to kind of grind it out to get ready for my album. So like I forgot how fun it is to just jump from mic to mic, show to show, staying out all night, just joking, riffing with my buds. I have like a group of 2 other comics that we just kind of hang out and do shows and just hit as many shows as we can. So it's been fun.
So I have no idea what the timeline like is on that. It's probably a while before we're going to see your special come out.
It's so funny because I don't know, because I actually was approached by New Wave Entertainment. They did like Bill Burr's album. They did Ron Funches, and so they're like, you could do it. I
love Ron Funches.
Oh, Ron is my boy. He's great. And so that was what I was the most hype about, mostly because his album was called oh man, I forget the Funches of Us, and it's it's a parody of The Last of Us. His cover is designed that way, and it's
really?
It's really cool.
Oh, that's
and
great.
I've known for a while that I wanted my first album to be called The Community College Dropout, because I'm just a huge Kanye fan, and it's just so insane. But I was like, I just want my first album to be the same as his first album.
I really like that.
Yeah, and so it was like the super fan thing to do. And since he was able to do the Funches of Us, I knew that they'd be cool with like a parody type thing with that, and I ran it by them, and they're like, yeah, so I'll send you guys the photo so you can put it up by then.
Oh,
but
totally.
Long story short, that was a weird tangent. I'm not handling anything after the taping, so they're which is what I like. I like that I don't have to think about anything they're going to worry about. That I'm just going to tape it, they're going to record it, and so I don't know. Sometimes I've seen comics tape it and it's out within a month or so, and sometimes they're planning it out. And I'm sure there's like marketing factors that I'm unaware of. That's like, well, let's release it with Star Wars since you're a big nerd or something.
Probably.
Well, I think today we'll be using your improv brain a little bit more.
Yeah,
watching a movie and see if we can get some insight, maybe crack-wise a little bit.
So no pressure. I mean, you only just set the bar for yourself. So.
Oh, no.
We expect lots of comedy. We are going to be watching Romancing the Stone from 1984, I believe.
Sure.
Because I'm
Do you want me
writing
to
notes.
check you?
Yeah, Mr. iPad.
Yeah. All of my knowledge is in an iPad. Yeah, so this I'll come right out of the gate and say this is probably my favorite director. I love Robert Zemeckis passionately.
Oh wow,
love this dude. Yeah. So yeah, Robert Zemeckis is our director, and then we've got Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, and our return to Danny DeVito. So this would have been Zemeckis's like third, or it's like his second movie that anybody would have recognized. Used Cars was before this, but I think people barely even register Used Cars. And I'd never even heard of I Want to Hold Your Hand. So this would have been like his first like real recognizable thing. And then the next year was Back to the Future.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And then Jewel of the Nile. And then Roger Rabbit. So once he kind of became significant, he was like really significant.
Yeah, he was on fire. I just recently watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And the cool thing about that movie is we'll never, ever in our lifetime get another movie like that. To see so many different properties together in one film, like to see Donald Duck in a piano fight with Daffy Duck, like we're not going to get that because now everyone's so, just...
protective of their own
of their
worlds.
rights.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting. I mean, like, look at
we've got Marvel versus Capcom.
Yeah, I know.
We've got something,
which is solid. I really like that franchise for that reason. It's good because I feel like from the beginning of any type of nerddom, your biggest thing is to mash up franchises that you don't see together. So
yeah. There have been a handful of DC Marvel crossover books.
Yes.
Maybe one day.
Yeah,
that would be nuts.
I know,
movie,
and it'll be better because we won't be voting on who would win, and it's not a popularity contest. So stuff that based on the lore given, wouldn't work. It's still a fun read, but I did have
somebody's
some
got opinions.
Yeah, I got opinions of.
Don't get me started.
One thing I love about Roger Rabbit, and some people are on board with this, some people think I'm just nerding out way too much, but Roger Rabbit is a true story.
Oh,
right. The whole idea that
cartoons aren't real.
No, the whole idea that when LA was being built,
yes,
they wanted to do public transit, but the companies that sold tires, not the car companies, but the companies that sold tires were pushing for interstates. Build interstates through those neighborhoods. Don't do streetcars. Don't do public transportation. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, it's framed around a cartoon murder.
But
the whole thing is
true. And it's one of the things that I think annoy me the most because I grew up in LA. So like I had to really live through how shitty it is not to have a reliable public transit system. And also like that's like New York's one thing on us. Like, and you heard me right. If you East Coasters, you're one thing on us. Like, cool. Yeah, pizza's great and all, but everything else rocks out here.
I have a friend actually who lives in New York and she just came and visited and came to LA. And she was like, "Oh my God, it's so warm here. It was like freezing in New York." And she was like, people walk their dogs and their dogs poop in the snow, and then more snow comes, and then when the snow melts, it's like a shit storm just all over the street. Gosh. And she was just like, "It's just amazingly clean here." And I was like, words I've never heard describing LA before, but okay.
I mean, comparatively, I like growing up, I've lived in LA. And LA, the funny thing about LA is so many cities hate us and we just don't know or care because we're just so vapid and self-concerned. I was like, okay, whatever. But I finally went to New York the first time and I was expecting so much different just because A, how it's portrayed in media, and B, just one of the big things I've heard from like, LA friends who went to New York and they're trying to be culture. They're like, it's just much cleaner and it's faster. And you get out there and it's like, no, everything smells like piss.
Yeah, not clean.
Everything smells bad. I don't like it. And also everyone's mean. Like people say LA people are fake. And it's like, well, no. And like people constantly are like, LA people are fake. It's like, because, and I asked like my New Yorker buddy, I was like, why do you guys think LA people are fake? It was like, well, because all the time you're like trying to be nice and just no one wants to argue. I was like, yeah, that rocks. Like I know.
People are just nice.
Yeah. We don't have to fight each other. We can pretend to like each other and get in our cars and drive away.
And sit on the highway.
Unless we're driving, then we're assholes.
Oh, yeah,
then we're like,
the
fuck
worst.
you.
Oh boy.
Was it merging is kryptonite for LA?
God,
That's Orange County.
You gotta take it. You gotta like I wish I didn't say it that way because I feel like that's a soundbite that's going to be used against me in the future. But you just gotta you can't be too nice in LA traffic. Like I watched some guy just on my way here because I got trapped between the Clippers and the Dodgers game, and it's this guy in a Dodgers hat, and I could tell he's not from LA, and he presses the pedestrian walk button, and people are still driving, and like he's waiting for everyone to stop. It's like, now you got to start walking. No one's gonna stop until they see you start walking.
Yeah. And red means 3 more cars can go.
Totally. I just got back from Victoria, and every car stops for pedestrians. Like you're not even to the crosswalk yet, and people have stopped. It's
it's like that in Oregon too.
It's weird.
But the population of Canada is probably on par with the population of LA. It's probably about the same number of people.
Fair.
Yeah, you remember when all those guys came down for my bachelor party, and they rented the car, and RJ was driving, and he's got his turn signal on, trying to get on the freeway, and no one's letting him in. He's like, "What's going on? Like, what the fuck? Everyone's not letting me in." I was like, "It's because you have your turn signal on."
Turn it
He's
off.
like, "What do I do?" It's like you just start changing lanes and act like you don't see them, and you're gonna hit them, and they'll move because no one wants their car to get hit.
Exactly.
And that's how you change lanes.
Totally.
It's just a constant game of chicken.
I didn't learn to drive. I mean, like I learned to drive, but I didn't get my driver's license till 18. So I didn't really drive until I moved out here.
Oh, wow.
And so I learned how to drive in LA traffic. And so it doesn't bother me like at all.
He sure as hell didn't learn to drive driving my Saturn pop 2 tires.
Well, you shouldn't have tried to teach me how to drive stick when I didn't even know how to drive a car, period. Thank you.
Gotta start somewhere.
Anyway, but now I go back home to Northern California and I'm like, all you fuckers drive so slow, you know?
Oh my
Just
gosh.
go.
I constantly forget that like we learned how to drive above the speed limit.
Oh,
you're
yeah.
just like, go! And you look down and you're going the speed
limit.
You're like, "Ugh."
Are we going 15 over at least?
I mean, you pass a cop going like 15 over, and they're
It's
like,
fine.
"Cool."
Yeah.
Like that was something like my stepmom told me while learning to drive. He was like, "You're go anywhere between 10 miles above the speed limit."
It's
but,
true.
Like, you technically could get a ticket for that, but like not out here. They're like,
No.
get going.
And there's a point between here and Northern California.
Really? They got you.
They got you?
Damn.
Oh.
We're doing like 75 or something. She was like driving alone on the highway at night, and so as the only car, you're not supposed to speed.
Yeah. Oh,
I had
man,
a tail light out, and he was like, "I'll let you off for the tail light. Here's your speed."
That's what it really was. It was the tail light, and then because one thing I found growing up out here is if you get pulled over, if there's something you could get a ticket for, you get a ticket for, because they don't want to pull you over for nothing. Like, they're really pulling over to check, run your shit and see like.
He thought I was drunk for sure.
I don't mean sorry. Sorry.
Fuck no.
I know it's so funny because I always feel bad when I do a thing and then like people are like, "Can you curse?" I was like, "Of course," but then I was like, "But you anyway." Yeah. It's only because they pulled you over for the tail light that you got that ticket.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't have a tail light and you sped by, oh man, it like LA cops are so moody. Like, so, you know, it's like sometimes they're just on their just P's and Q's and they just need a ticket. By the way, do you remember like what part of the month it was?
Well, I was in Orange County,
Oh,
actually.
then
Right by
that's
Disneyland.
different. That's a whole different world. That's not LA.
And it was June, I think.
It's a whole different world. Like LAPD and OCPD, they literally have nothing to do, so you're gonna get a ticket for anything.
Especially near Disneyland.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
no.
Oh yeah, a banana crime. I got all the city nicknames.
We have a rowdy 5-year-old who had too
oh my
much sugar.
gosh.
Like,
I hate OCPD. They like, but like it was so funny.
Calling out OC right here.
Yeah.
Here is it.
There's the audio clip that's gonna get you in trouble.
Yeah. Well, no, if me hating the police is gonna be, it's already too late for me. It's a wrap.
It's a well documented.
It's very well. Oh.
I'm sorry, were we talking about
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not going to list everything that Zemeckis has done, but recently we watched Alien, which I argued was a perfect movie and the best movie ever made. But I would say that Back to the Future is also a perfect movie.
Yes. I'll give
And
you
it's
that.
certainly a competitor for best of all time. But it's a perfect movie.
Yeah, and I just being a hype beast, and my brand, I can't move past aliens being said without saying you got to look out for those new stompers that are coming out. Have you seen the twin stompers that are going to be released in honor of aliens?
Oh, I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so clean.
I don't even know what the hell you're talking
Shoes. He's talking about shoes.
So
about. Wow.
I was like, what type of monster stompers? Oh, God.
So
I'm like, are you talking about something in the Alien Covenant trailer? There's a new stomper alien?
No, so Ridley's shoes, the stompers. They're like white and red.
Yeah, they're
right?
white.
White and red, and they have like kind of the strap.
They look like tennis shoes.
So they released those last year, which that was a whole deal because they didn't go they didn't run the full gamut of women's sizes, and people were like,
yeah,
and. So, but also it just didn't run the gamut of sizes, period. Like I couldn't own one. They didn't go up to my size
Weird.
because they were advertised as unisex size. Oh yeah. But see, those are the regular ones. They have the high top ones that are like hers that go up your calf.
Okay. Yeah, that looks like something she wore in the second movie, maybe.
And they go for roughly 10, 15 grand. Yeah, because they're a limited run. My buddy was able to get a pair for $8. I told him, no, I think 8 or 4, and I told him jump on it. He was like, people were like, why would you spend that much? I was like, because it's about 12 grand more than he's about to get for it. So jump on it.
Because somebody else will pay you.
Yeah, exactly. And he seems like he only wore it once and he's going to keep it in the box. So really he can have like probably 20, 30 grand in 15 years. So like if you have a chance to try and like just scoop those, even if you're not that interested in wearing them, I would just do it because they're a cool collector's item. And if you ever need a cool, I think those
they're like 500, I think.
They're 500, and I think resale they'll probably hit 5 G's. I don't think they're gonna.
You heard it here first at Ify's resale corner.
Yeah. I got
bye.
I got really into sneakers, and one thing I've learned in sneakers, this is just a general rule. What really defines how expensive it's going to be is if it's based. So if it's Jordans, it's always going to be. It has to be a pair he wore. That's what makes them expensive. If they're like a cool pair and super rare, maybe, but most of the time it's going to be expensive if there's their actual pair and colorware he wore. And I think the same goes for like movie stuff. I think that the original ones are going to be more expensive because they're the ones who wore the Marty McFly joints. Those are more expensive than the kind of modernized versions they came out because they're the Marty McFly ones. Those go for a cool 15 too. So you heard it here first.
How do you verify that he wore
Well, like in the
in the
movie.
movie.
Not that he literally wore those
like
shoes.
Jordan.
Oh, just watching old tapes. Like you'll be able to see in pictures, and lots of times
So
Nike.
it's not like the specific shoe.
It's like
It's like
No,
that
it's not the pair
style.
he wore.
yeah. It's
That
it's the model he wore like on court.
Gotcha.
Cool. So
We're gonna make it through this. We're gonna make.
but yeah, so we got Michael Douglas, of course, Kirk Douglas's son, who I think is now significantly more recognized than Kirk Douglas.
Yeah, I
I'd
think
say
so.
that.
But maybe that's a generational thing. But he kind of started in a TV series called Streets of San Francisco. Then there was China Syndrome, and then Romancing the Stone. So all of these people.
So he hasn't done a lot before this.
It was pretty early in most of their careers, yeah. But then there was Wall Street, War of the Roses, Falling Down, Basic Instinct. Wow. Like he's done some really good stuff.
Yeah.
And of course now he's Hank Pym in the Ant-Man movies.
Yeah.
And he's an awesome choice for Hank Pym.
Movies? Are they making another one? I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
that
Ant-Man
makes
and the Wasp will be 2020 maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he's so perfect for Hank Pym.
Yeah, I really enjoyed his performance. It was so fun.
I really would have liked to have seen the story that took place during his prime.
Yeah.
Only complaint. But aside from that, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I wanted to see that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we could go back to 1984, like after Romancing the Stone, and have them make Ant-Man then, that would have been interesting.
Yeah, not just rely on that. Doesn't quite work. Youthful CGI.
Yeah.
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 I know.
Which is getting better all the time.
I know. I saw that on screen, and they're just like, this doesn't look right.
Except for in Rogue One.
Or in Logan. I feel like they pulled off young Wolverine and Logan really well.
I haven't seen that one yet.
But was it just him? Was it like Nazi Joe? Was it just him?
We haven't seen it yet. I'm getting tickets for the black and white on the 16th.
I heard they were doing that.
Okay. Well, then I'll stop right there.
Thank you.
Is it just the whole movie in black and white?
Yeah, they regraded it for black and white.
Oh, that's cool.
Could be interesting.
Yeah.
And then our other big star.
I'm just trying to like go. Like, did I say too much? No, I did.
What the audience can't hear is all the facial expressions going back and forth.
No, I'm going to keep reeling us back to the movie, but I love the tangents. It's all good.
Are we watching a movie?
But Kathleen Turner was really big for a pretty short amount of time. Like, I think she's still really recognizable, but most of what she did was about this time. I think she started it with Body Heat, which was huge right off the bat.
And that's how most people start.
Yeah, with Body. And I'm betting, Ify, have you seen Man with Two Brains?
No, I haven't.
I don't think it, because we've talked about Man with Two Brains and how much I love Man with Two Brains.
Yeah, I feel like you keep saying Man with Two Brains.
We need to watch this sometime.
You say these words. I don't understand these words.
Steve Martin, Kathleen Turner, and they're spoofing those old sci-fi mad scientist movies.
Oh, okay.
It's like
that sounds amazing.
It's the flavor of Mystery Science Theater.
Okay.
But the movie itself is really fucking good.
Okay.
And yeah, she's great in it. She's really great in Peggy Sue Got Married. And then she was the voice of Jessica Rabbit and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And then all three of our stars, DeVito, Kathleen Turner, and Michael Douglas, got back again for War of the Roses, which might be interesting to check out after this.
This is a big list of movies and things that I've never seen.
Really? But you've heard of a lot.
I've heard of like all of them.
No, I've never heard of Body Heat.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that's one that's like, it's popular, but I don't know anybody's actually seen it. Like China Syndrome. Like, you've heard of it, right?
No.
I've heard of it, but never
Better
seen
known
it.
as ours. Oh, no, that's a bad joke.
Oh, God.
Take that back.
And I don't know. That's so funny because I feel like there's a generation of people who wouldn't even get that joke. Like did you be like, what is he? What
is SARS?
That was, I know that was like a thing that we, for some reason, were legit scared of. Like we were like, oh no,
because chicken. Everyone loves chicken in the U.S. And like if there's a disease that's gonna get in my dinner, like
was that the same thing as bird flu?
Yeah,
think,
SARS,
no,
the bird flu, right?
Those are different things.
I thought that's how it was originally. Like
SARS was a respiratory
Yeah,
thing.
I was gonna say
I thought it was spread
coughing and
by
stuff.
the birds, though.
I think
you're thinking of bird flu.
Bird flu.
I don't know.
That
what's
was
going on there.
different.
we need
got
is there a
fever.
doctor?
I'm not a doctor.
So yeah, we're back to the point. So I remember really liking this movie, but I don't think I've seen it in forever. Like maybe since it was new.
Oh man, yeah.
And
Me
it kind
too.
of feels like, Zemeckis' attempt to get an Indiana Jones thing going.
yeah.
I kind of feel.
100%.
Yes.
Totally.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
But they wanted
But more
like
of a comic flair.
yeah, it wasn't taking itself quite as seriously as Indiana Jones, if I remember correctly, but it definitely wanted to have that adventure vibe.
So have we all seen this movie?
I have not. I have not seen.
That's
it.
right. We talked. And the rest is?
Yes.
Yep.
I've seen it.
I have not.
Okay.
Oh.
Right.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Okay.
Don't ruin this one.
I've
for
never
me.
the poster for this. I've actually never seen the whole thing until I just rented it because it's always
You haven't seen the whole poster?
on a
'Cause
DVD
my
box.
eyes are always slanted upward.
cut in half with another double feature because they don't sell this movie by itself,
That's
which
so
has
not
always
true.
made me think that it's not a good movie because they don't sell good movies in combination with a completely different franchise.
No,
usually,
you're so wrong. In our DVD cabinet that I told you about before you rented this movie on your phone, we have Romancing the Stone, but it is paired with Jewel of the Nile, which is the sequel. But that's the same franchise.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so they did get a second one after this.
Lawyered.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 in the same box. Like, that stuff happens.
Oh, well, I didn't even know those were the same.
Well, you done fucked up.
I did.
Yeah, so if you like this movie, there's a whole other one right in the chamber, ready to go.
Is it as good as the first?
I don't remember them well. I think they're both pretty good.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Sam's like cringing over here.
Well, because I can't remember. Like, I have an ending and I have a beginning, but I think my ending that I remember is from Jewel of the Nile.
Oh.
Okay.
So I can't remember which is which.
Okay.
But I remember Romancing the Stone is better than Jewel of the Nile, I believe.
I was about to say the first movie is always better, but we were just talking about Old Man Logan, which is the one that breaks that mold.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess Ify, you seem to be the guy who knows the least about this movie.
Yeah.
Do you have any expectations?
Well, no. I feel like I'm. I feel like knowing Zemeckis' other works and knowing that this came before, like a year before Back to the Future, I'd like to imagine this is kind of what gave him the opportunity to do Back to the Future. So that's kind of what I'm gonna hold in my head going in. Whereas like watching this, is what they were like, oh yeah, he did this. Let's give him Back to the Future. But I'm probably wrong about that anyway.
It's a decent starting place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brett, what are you thinking, having never seen it?
I mean, like I said, I've only ever seen the box art for this, and it looks like a cheese ass movie. Like, let me see if I can get this picture up. Oh nope, it's just gonna play it. Well,
What do you think of Michael
Look at that
Douglas?
box art.
Yeah.
Dude, it's pretty fabulous. It's the dude, like, riding on one of those, like, vine ropes with the girl on his back.
It looks like the George of the Jungle cover art.
It's like a Michael Douglas as Beavis and Butthead caricature.
What? No.
Yeah, because the way
it's supposed to be
his
pulp
head's up like
illustration.
Here. Well, ananyway,
Yeah.
it doesn't look like something I would watch. So
Okay. Well, you're gonna.
So much hate.
I'm hoping it doesn't get too far into the
romancing.
no the
Obviously.
Indiana Jones part for swinging through the trees with the monkeys, but it's
That's what
on
I
the
thought
box
when I saw
art.
that box. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Prepare yourself.
What are you expecting, Ash?
I remember liking this series. I definitely haven't seen it since I was a kid, and I think I don't remember potentially maybe anything. Like well, the problem is I think that I'm getting this confused. I think that both movies might be blurring into each other, so I'm not sure which one I'm remembering. I might be having like a Mighty Duck scenario again. And I don't remember Danny DeVito being in this.
I don't remember that either.
I watched the trailer, like just a few seconds of the trailer, and like right away I was like, what's Danny DeVito? What is like, I don't think I remember anything about this movie. And I think I keep getting it confused with another movie that I was trying to Google and figure out the name. But there's like another movie about a couple trapped on an island. I'm trying to remember the name.
6 Days, 7 Nights.
Yes,
Yeah,
that
which
I think
has
I'm
Harrison Ford in it.
Yeah, I think I'm confusing
Where
this
he
movie with
crashes
that.
another plane.
So I don't know, like, I'm not sure what I'm remembering. So this will be fun. I think I remember now that you said the Indiana Jones, that like racks my memory a little bit, and I'm remembering, like, isn't there like jokes with a camel? I don't know. There might be a camel.
I'm starting to remember some
remember.
details that I'll probably just leave it and watch the movie.
Yeah.
I remember the very 80s soundtrack.
Oh, is this another
yeah.
very 80s soundtrack
Oh, yeah.
movie? Okay.
I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
Another
time.
Lady Hawk moment.
I think this has been like 50-50 on very 80s being good or very bad.
I can't attest to which one this will be.
At least they had the sense to get Huey Lewis on board for Back to the Future.
Yeah.
It's like, sure, he's cheese 80s, but he's like best case scenario.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right, so Sam, having probably the freshest memory of this movie and the one who is really championing this movie,
Yeah.
what's about to happen?
I'm real excited. I think it's going to be very cheesy, but in the best way possible. And I think it's gonna rock and we're gonna love it.
Okay.
I hope.
So I want to throw out like one thing I don't know if I'm expecting or hoping for, but one of the things I absolutely love about Zemeckis, and we were kind of talking about this earlier, Ash, he's one of those people who will put visual effects on screen and you'll never know there was a visual effect there. For years, I thought Gary Sinise did not have his legs from Forrest Gump. Like, I believe, because that was the first time I ever saw Gary Sinise. I thought, wow, they got a guy who legitimately is an amputee. No, like that's how good Zemeckis is in putting visual effects in his movie that you just don't notice are visual effects. So I'm hoping we get some cool stuff like that in this movie.
But was that a visual effect, or was that just they just tied his feet?
They did a green screen wrap around his legs and did some crazy shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that. That is crazy.
Yeah, they did some really good stuff. And lots of other stuff. Like I think a lot of people think about that scene in Contact where the father's having a heart attack. She runs up the stairs to find the pills.
Oh, yeah.
And then it turns out the whole shot was being played out in the bathroom mirror. And the camera pulls through the bathroom mirror. And it's like crazy, crazy stuff. If you see what's happening, melts your brain. But most people, it's just like, it's part of the drama.
Yeah.
You know? And that's what I'm hoping for.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if it's going to be that quite high concept
Okay.
from
We'll
what I
see.
remember.
So I kind of screwed up our order. I usually like to talk to the guest and get the guest expectations last. I fucked up and asked you first.
No, it's all good.
But having heard what everybody else is saying, still not sure what
Have we
to
changed
expect.
your mind?
I know. Yeah. No, I'm still hyped. You know, I know Bret. He's thinking, but you know,
That was a great Bret impression.
I'm impressed.
but I get hyped off of like cheesy '80s stuff and
You're
really,
going to like it.
yeah, I'm digging it. And you know, it's Zemeckis. It's not like it's like some director we really don't remember from the '80s.
Yeah.
So that gives me a little more hope. And I want to see if there's. I like looking at things that probably had potential, had different things had happened, and I feel like, you know, because like we said and we were seeing with Bret, this could be written off as like a cheesy Indiana Jones type ripoff movie. Could this be as good as Indiana Jones?
No.
Well, that answers that.
Good night, folks.
Right on. So we're going to watch Romancing the Stone. So you might want to pause the podcast, watch the movie. Did we find it on any of the Netflixes or anything? Or
think
I
it's
rented
on-
it on Google Play.
just do the pay
Oh,
rental
cool.
services?
I think it's on iTunes as well.
I've stopped looking on Netflix. I just assume it's not available.
Right
Have
on.
you heard of this site called Can You Stream It?
Yes.
Yeah, so
That's
That's
what
when
I
you're the
always
second
do.
Yeah.
guest mentioned
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But sometimes it's delayed, but for the most part, pretty solid.
Yeah.
So check it out and join us after the movie, and we'll see if it's actually any good.
Oh, yeah.
That'll do.
There we go.
So that was
Really choked you up, didn't it?
well, you know, I watched the movie. I cry every
You just
time I
love
get to
the
end.
part where they meet up at the
I
airport.
cry every time.
Yeah, that was Romancing the Stone. We were all weeping at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, well, please tell us how you really feel.
I couldn't think of anything to say, and I was coughing.
Well, I guess.
Yeah. Hey, if
Hey,
I'll
what
jump
would you
off.
think? You don't
Well,
seem to be coughing.
Well,
Jesus.
I came into this. I remember, like right before we went into it, I was like, I'm interested to see in this movie why it didn't like blow up the same way Indiana Jones did. And Michael Douglas, right? Michael Douglas, son of Kirk Douglas.
You're asking me if that's the reason.
No. I was just making sure I had his
'Cause
name
yes.
right. But yeah, his face isn't that like adventuring hero face. Like I see his face, I'm like, yeah, perfect pick for Wall Street. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like he has that, like he looks like when I saw him in the mud, it's like, nah, you don't look like you play in mud. You look like
You look like an actor.
yeah. He looks like his power comes from just like mind games and not actually being like, you know, like when you see a
Like the
face
game?
like, yeah. Like when you see a face like Harrison Ford, you're like, oh, I could see that guy chopping
Roughing
down.
it,
You're
yeah.
roughing it. But yeah, with his face, it just did not fit for me.
That's
Like,
that scene where they're hacking through.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You give it a try," and you can see on his face, like, "Thank God, like, I had no idea what I was doing with that knife."
There's a point where he puts on the orange jacket, and somebody said he looked like Marty McFly.
Oh, yeah?
Yes,
He
yeah.
actually really looked like Marty McFly.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that,
He did.
that boyish charm
Oh, yeah.
face that he had. that's not a rugged adventurer.
I like your boyish charm face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like I never really completely liked him. I especially like at the end where she's like about to be stabbed to death and he's like, I'm gonna hold on to this crocodile and try to maybe help, but I'm not gonna let go of the crocodile until the last minute.
Well, I think they tried to do some character thing there where like he always goes for the thrill of adventure and he doesn't, go for love or the ladies, whatever. It's his first love is adventure and he
chose it over her.
But
every time
he makes the
until
choice.
the end when ultimately he chose to help her.
No, he chose the alligator.
No, he let it.
But then at the very end,
Assassin's Creed crawl up the wall.
But at the very end, he still chose the alligator over her and jumped into the wall.
That's
guy
true.
Was dead.
She was safe. He knew he was coming back for her once he navigated underwater at night and found that exact alligator that ate
and
these
murdered it underwater.
Yeah, I would rather have somebody walk away from me and go get the $2 million emerald. And meet up later than let the emerald go. That doesn't feel like any sort of betrayal.
I don't know. I didn't like that.
Also, it was kind of cool that like she beat the bad guy. Like she didn't need man to come in.
I kind of like he got there to save her just after she managed to kill him.
She was like, I got him.
That bad guy was having the worst day.
Yeah.
There was never a point where I felt worried by him. Like the best, his one body count is killing a janitor. That was what he did. Kill a janitor and supposedly killed Elaine's husband. But I think someone else did it now.
Yeah.
And why did he kill her husband? Did they ever really clarify?
I think he originally had the map.
Oh.
He sent it to Kathleen Turner before the movie. Yeah.
Makes sense.
I like this thought in my head that in Star Wars now all of the stormtroopers are Colombians. Because they shot so many bullets.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not a Colombian thing. That's an 80s thing. Like, watch a few episodes of the A-Team. Like, a method of defense is to just spray bullets over somebody's head.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you do with a machine gun.
Also, you could tell this is like 80s movies time because the suspension of disbelief for someone to get a treasure map and be like, yep, this is worth something immediately. Like, no convincing.
Which I bought in Goonies because of the type of movie Goonies is.
Oh, yeah.
I think this claims to be a little more grounded than that. And
it wasn't just
grounded in that this is not a child wish fulfillment movie, but a middle-aged woman wish fulfillment movie.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I'm still hung up on the fact that he was not a good guy, though. He was not like if it's
that's what makes him sexy.
He's
Ash.
the scoundrel.
I guess.
Yeah. He's the unlawful good.
I like the idea of him. I don't know that it was executed particularly well.
Well, yeah, it does feel like, and I think once again, this is another Michael Douglas face issue. Like, I feel like he is constantly typecast as villains, and I feel like that's why you never got on his side because you look at his face.
You see him as the villain?
Yeah. I feel like he always comes. I just see him as like, you're not good. Like, you're not a good man.
I didn't feel that way, but his actions made me feel that way. Like
it's the
stealing
face
the
you'd
map.
like to punch syndrome. Like,
What?
Like, because he looks like a bad guy. Like you want to typecast him there.
I don't know that I've seen him in a lot of films as a bad guy, but I definitely know what you're talking about.
I think about it. Wall Street, we're going to say bad guy.
Yeah.
The Game, he was the good guy, but he was he's an ass who had to be taught some redemption.
Yeah.
And Hank Pym has that temper.
Yeah.
And he keeps exploding, even though he's the good guy. I'm trying to think. Like, I guess he is kind of a bad dude most of the time.
Just an edge. I'd say edge.
It's funny. You said that it was or somebody said, not necessarily you, that made the comparison to Indiana Jones. And I think that this was more like Uncharted to me.
Sure. Yeah.
The Jeep chase?
Yeah, it's just like Uncharted 4. There's that whole Jeep chase scene in Uncharted 4.
So this
and
was
Slipping
like
in the mud.
20 to 30 years before.
And I was just reading it was actually written before Raiders.
Oh,
Really?
interesting.
Oh.
Wow.
It took them a while to get into production. But yeah, I think that's a fair comparison, but you have to compare Uncharted to Indiana Jones.
Oh,
anyway.
totally.
Yeah.
Like they're all that same vein.
Yeah, I see the similarities. I guess this was more like a treasure hunt video to me, and Indiana Jones feels like he's like trying to stop the bad guys.
Yeah.
You know?
Indiana Jones ain't after the treasure.
Yeah, exactly.
He's after the
He's
booty.
after the treasure because the treasure needs to go in a museum.
Yeah.
He's not in it for the fortune and glory, kid.
That's also was interesting about this movie is Joan's wealth was kind of fluctuating because, like, to be honest, like she was portrayed, I feel like at the top of the movie as like rich, a
Yeah.
successful writer who's
Totally.
rich, and then like at some point, like she was interested in like this jewel, like actually
Yeah.
getting it, and it's like, but you're kind of rich, like why do you? I guess nothing's wrong with
Did they
Mormon.
really establish her as rich, or are we thinking just because she has an apartment in Manhattan?
Well, it
she
was
must be
apartment
rich?
in Manhattan, and then she was talking about how expensive her shoes
Yeah,
were. Like
her-
those
yeah.
were Italian,
Oh,
and
yeah,
she had
that's
like
And
the,
her publisher made it sound like she was a very successful author.
yeah.
And like she had all those posters all over, and the people knew her.
Yeah.
Also, to go back to the beginning, I was talking about how it was good. How like it was great visual storytelling because they had the scene with the one egg, so you knew she kind of was alone. But then there was some other like weird things where like there was like a kid's drawing on the fridge. And
Oh.
she didn't have a kid, and her sister didn't have a kid. So it's like,
Yeah, that's
okay,
weird.
that might have just
cat.
been like from
Yeah.
just stuck on there from production, another production that they never updated.
This is my cat's drawing.
Oh yeah, my cat drew it.
So we talk about shots that Zemeckis does that have visual effects and you never know it. How about that scene where the crocodile bit the guy's hand off?
Oh, yeah.
Looked pretty real, didn't it?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Wow.
It was so funny.
I was like,
It was so funny because they did that like classic thing where you can tell it's a prop hand getting bit because
Yeah.
it's so stiff. Like it
Yeah.
looks so lively at first when he's holding it, and then it just becomes like.
I love how he's like, caught it, and I'm gonna keep
yes,
leaning over
yes.
and not bring it up to me for a while.
Knowing there's crocodiles here.
Yeah.
Also, crocodile teeth, or they're not like scissors. Like they,
Yeah, it's not just like
yeah.
snapping
they do
your
they do
hands
that
off.
twirly thing and like twist your appendages off.
Yeah,
but that might have been
Awesome
too
if he
horrific.
did the
Yeah.
death
Yeah.
roll and pulled that guy down.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Also, I want to say there's probably someone listening to this who's like a big lizard head, and they're mad because we've alternated between alligators and crocodile a few times. And they're like, oh, choose one.
I
And
bet
then he's
the
gonna
film
watch
did
it.
too,
Yeah.
probably.
Oh yeah, I'm so sure.
If you're listening, Paul Hogan, we apologize.
Are they alligators or crocodiles?
I believe they were crocodiles.
I think they're
Okay.
chompers, according to the guy in the
Yeah.
movie.
You see those chompers?
Said it like 3 times.
And one time they were referred to as dinosaurs,
Yes.
which is my favorite way to refer to alligators and crocodiles because, yes, they do look like dinosaurs.
And they do date pretty far back.
Yeah.
Like they're almost contemporaries of dinosaurs.
Can we talk about how Danny DeVito and that other guy was basically the wet bandits in this film? They were like the worst bad guys.
That is like my favorite movie trope though, where it's like there's the big bads, and then you have the like lower just buffoon baddies who are kind of progressing the story along by failing forward. It's always fun because you don't feel as scared. Like you get that conflict without feeling too scared
Threatened,
for
yeah.
your characters.
Is the whole movie better if you imagine it as Danny DeVito in It's Always Sunny? And he's just Frank on a shitty adventure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I will say there was a moment I did like take a step back and was like, I imagine this is a Frank flashback that he
Yeah.
mentions in an
man.
episode.
That would be so
Well,
great.
After we watched Matilda, I was saying that Danny DeVito is the narrator in Matilda.
Yeah.
I like to imagine he's just telling Dennis and Sweet D the story.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a don't mess with crocodiles. What, Frank?
Charlie, there's this emerald we gotta get.
Gosh, if it wouldn't be so hard to do, that should be an episode where he keeps like these saying like, don't do this and that. And it's just all these movies he's been in.
Oh, that'd be so great.
I just watched the Family Feud episode.
Oh, man, I love that one.
This doesn't represent me.
I can't watch Westworld without seeing the McPoyle guy and just.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that one's tough too.
yeah, he's been showing up in a lot of stuff now too. But yeah, same thing. I keep seeing him.
He's a
It's
good
like,
actor.
I mean,
Yeah.
good for him, but it's so rough when the first time you see him is something like that. Like, It's Always Sunny.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
if Rickety Cricket started showing up in other things, that would be very tough to swallow.
Yeah,
Although he's so disfigured, it might be passable if he's
you
in
might
something
forget
else.
what he looked like originally.
You know, I just want to say, I think my favorite part about this movie was the dude who recognized her and was like a huge
Yes.
fan.
With
Oh.
his,
He was
his
so
little
great.
mule.
Yeah.
that is also another one of my favorite tropes. I feel like a lot of my favorite tropes comes from the 80s. But like, yeah, I like when it's like there's danger and then like through some goofy recognition, like everything's fine.
Yeah.
And him just going around trying to show them around.
Yeah.
The
Why'd you go
country
to
while-
this patch? Because I wanted to show
Sure.
you.
Oh man, it's so good.
So good.
I would like a post-credit scene where like he gets a package and it's the next novel.
Yes. That would be good.
I like how he had the Dukes of Hazzard jump.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Them Duke boys got themselves in a load of trouble.
I think the score was pretty phenomenal.
It was actually really great.
You know, it's funny. That was Alan Silvestri, who's done pretty much every Zemeckis movie
I was gonna
after.
say,
And he's really good. This was not so good. Better than a lot that we've seen.
it was. I think it was trying to be very contemporary,
Yeah.
and looking back over past decades, things go out of style.
Yeah. But compare this to like the score for Castaway. It's like, is that the same dude? It's weird.
No.
I think maybe Sam just set an expectation in my mind that, I had lower expectations. So this was like way better musically than I was expecting.
Okay, better or worse than Lethal Weapon?
Oh, I think
that's not fair.
it's different.
I mean, I feel like if you
I felt it was pretty on par.
if you dislike that Lethal Weapon, then you must hate sax because
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I feel like
It
the
was-
saxophone was a character in Lethal Weapon.
Absolutely.
it's
yeah,
so good.
it was
But-
missing the sax.
oh man, but we got the sax at the end.
We did, that
I
smooth
feel
jazz
I
song.
love that in the 80s sax equals romance. Like if something romantic is about to happen, you got to hit them with that.
This music compared to Lady Hawk.
Lady Hawk.
This was
Sucks. Yeah, this
was
is
way
way
better.
better. Absolutely.
Just build some context there.
Now when I think when we say 80s music, I compare it to Lady Hawk. Like that's what I'm going to is, oh God, 80s music.
What about this compared to the actual score? Not the songs, but the score from Knight's Tale. Remember some of that bad
Yeah.
score?
Yeah.
I think
this
was
is better.
than that. Yeah.
Okay.
The thing-
I'm like not sure what side of the fence you
Yeah.
were ending up on each time.
The score that I liked the best in this movie was the Western score from the beginning.
yeah. That one felt very Zemeckis.
I kind of hoped that it would continue, and it didn't.
Yeah, it's like, let's just watch this movie.
Yeah, I will say there was a second where I was like, "Oh, this is a different movie than I was expecting." But
didn't
I'm
know it was
ready
a
for it. Yeah,
Western.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I don't know that I have
Much more
other-
to say. Can we talk about how he decided that he was going to Zelda his way up the fucking wall to save
Oh yeah,
her?
that was the worst choice.
Instead of like running around, like why? Why would
I
he
also
think
like
that was
that he
faster?
had the moment like, oh no, it's raining. I'm gonna slip down the wall a little bit.
Yeah.
Climbing.
Just like in Breath of the Wild, sometimes you get lucky and you land on that patch that pokes out a little bit, so you can get your stamina back.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
You could just keep going from there.
Oh, that's what you should post on Twitter. Is Michael Douglas climbing the wall with the stamina wheel?
Yeah. That's so good. Those are two Venn diagrams that I don't think meet though.
No, yeah.
Those are two like people are like, all right, he's trying to get a green donut. What is happening?
Well, I'll be the first to say that I am actually really surprised I thought this movie was a lot better than I was expecting. I will say that. I
Totally.
enjoyed myself. I thought it was pretty fun.
Oh yeah, I feel like, it's so funny. One of my roommates is like a big movie guy. Went to film school, and he's fun to watch movies with because we talk about it after, and then we share our general opinions about movies. And he hates the 80s. Like, he does not like that chunk of movie. Yeah, he doesn't like the 80s. Either that or the 70s.
It's a weird thing to hate.
Yeah, either the 70s or the 80s, but it's one of those decades.
It's gotta be the
It's got to be
80s.
80s, yeah.
But with me, it's like I can see why someone would be like, oh, I don't like the 80s, because I feel like we just wanted to have a little more fun in the 80s, and I like it. So like, whenever there's an 80s movie that a lot of people are like, oh, it's cheese or it's not that good, like, I tend to like it because I go in knowing what it is. And I feel like you have to take your brain back to the 80s. What was going on? What were we trying to escape from? I feel like, this next decade of movies might get the same reaction in like 40, 50 years where it's like, what was going on back there? Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Whole bunch of shit we didn't want to pay attention.
Yeah, definitely.
But it is, I guess we could take this tangent where it is interesting how movies are affected by what's going on. Like the weekend of after the election was the highest grossing weekend ever of movies because people just wanted to be like, oh shit, fuck it, let's go.
We did. We went to a movie that night, the next night. Yeah.
And it's so funny because like as a stand-up, people were like, oh man, aren't you excited? And it was like, no, this is worse. Why would I want this?
Yeah.
But I feel like as a writer of a movie, it's like you're taking the gloves off, so it's like, all right, people are gonna want some good stuff. This is gonna be like a high consumption era of movies, and I think we are seeing that. We're seeing like, Fate of the Fury. I'm a big Fast and Furious guy. I know that they're kind of popular, but I still think the times is the reason it made so much money. I feel like by now people should have, just statistically, should be getting off the Fast and Furious boat.
Yeah, totally.
Like by now they should be getting off, but now they're like, nah, I want some dumb fun cars going everywhere. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yep.
When has a series other than Bond hit 8 movies?
I know. It's crazy.
That's pretty.
That's a lot. I thought it was at 6. It's at 8.
Yeah, it's at
That's
8.
impressive.
Yeah, and they're all doing well. I think the first few weren't as popular, but once The Rock got involved, they've been knocking them out the park.
I have never seen a single one of them.
Me neither.
I'd
I've
say
seen 1 in 5.
I'd say try and watch them all in order.
It's a
guess
linear
so.
decline in seriousness.
Yeah. but in such a good way, because it really does start out with these two undercover cop and a criminal racing for slips, and now they're like world-class secret agents.
It's Point Break. The first movie basically is Point Break.
Yeah.
But with cars. Yeah.
Instead
They're
of
like,
surfing.
yeah. They're kind of dumb and they're kind of macho and they're kind of actiony, but they're pretty good. At least from what I've seen.
I mean, that's what everyone tells me, and I have to say, as like a film school student, I think I always like look down on them, like, oh, that thing. But everyone I know loves them, and so I'm like, all right, I guess I gotta give it a try. I think it's because it doesn't take itself too serious. I think if they were trying to be like, this is a movie, but they know what it is. It's kind of like the. I think it's just in general when a movie leans into being just fun instead of trying to take it serious. I feel like that's where some superhero movies fail.
When they create a universe and stay true to that universe. And I always go back to Charlie's Angels. I think those movies are so good.
They are.
Because they commit to the Wile E. Coyote universe that exists in. And it's great.
Yeah, the Furious movies, they have this vibe of like nothing goes on screen unless it sounds like a 7-year-old boy said it. Like, all right. The next scene, they have to be like in a car chase in Russia. Well, how'd they get to Russia? Of course, they dropped the cars out of an airplane.
They're robbing a bank, so they tie the safe from the bank to the cars. And then they drive the safe out of the bank.
But then they start using the car like a wrecking ball when with the cops.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
It's like that Saturday Night Live sketch where they were talking about the co-writer for Game of Thrones. It turns out it was a 10-year-old boy.
Oh, that makes sense. I don't like this character anymore. Kill him.
Yeah.
Well, it's more about like all the boobs.
Oh yeah.
That's a good thing.
Maybe it's like a 13-year-old boy.
Yeah.
That's also a fun thing about this movie and the era where it's like they showed more skin and less skin at the same time. Like I love like, you know, I feel like we've moved away from suggested nudity, and I feel like that in its own way can be sexier than like just a boob out. Like, but like they like in the opening scene, it's a boob, but it's like on a wet shirt. So
That
you don't
opening
see,
scene was pretty steamy.
yeah. And then I was like, wow, this looks way like more sexy to the character than if it was just a boob out, you know? And then you had the sex
I'm
scene.
thinking of that Lonely Island song. The one boob out.
And then the sex scene where they're
the
just like,
post-sex
yeah, post-sex scene, post-coitus
Mid-sex
conversation
Or
about
maybe
it.
mid.
Yeah. Where you just get like the full side of her and like his chest, and they're laying on each other, and I feel like now it's like you either show boobs and a little dangling or nothing at all, you know?
Yeah.
It always makes me think about like, what's the? Oh, you love this movie, Ash. Don't Look Now.
Yes.
That like I always think about like at some point somebody actually had sex.
Oh, I know, right?
And I think Don't Look Now is the one where
Is the
people
one.
say
Yeah.
they're pretty sure it actually happened.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
But like I don't
It
know.
is a intense sex scene.
Yeah.
You strap in for that one.
All right.
Or strap on. I don't know.
Let's
But
go.
this, I mean, I'm not going to say this movie they did, but it was like they
Bits were touching.
Yeah.
Bits were touching.
they
I
were
always
in
wonder
it to
how
win
they
it.
handle sex scenes in the D-Box theaters.
It just vibrates.
God.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Rub against the wall. Okay. Cool. Like I imagine I'd like to direct that seat. I'd like to be like, all right, I got this, y'all. Trust me, your boy got
Let me
this.
tell you why it's called the D-Box.
Brett.
Oh my gosh.
Have you guys seen a movie with D-Box?
Yes.
I have not,
I'm
but I want
sorry.
to.
No, I don't. I saw Terminator Salvation. I was like curious.
Yeah, I
Not
was
worth
curious.
it.
No,
So
it's
I wonder
horrible.
who controls the D box, because if I made a movie and I get to say, like, say there's a scene and two people dancing in a club, and you know, the guy gets a little boner and pokes her in the butt. You know, I want the D box to do a little boop. Like, hey.
Do you really think that the seat has that much articulation
Well, I know.
available?
I used to work at Disneyland, and I worked on Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, and I know that
There
with
are
the mouse
penises in
scene,
the
there's
scene.
just like the little. Yeah, we had like, you know, it was like tiny little dots, and then one big dildo in the middle. But yeah, like there were like little, I guess, pistons that would come up in the seat to kind of like so you can feel
Oh my
it push.
God, wow.
So like I imagine if. I would hope the D-Box has those same kind of pistons. You could just make one concentrated poke. Where you're like, hey,
God.
like, oh yeah, that is how that feels probably.
Now you know how every woman feels.
Yeah. Then if he gets banned from directing D-Box for his movies,
I saw it.
Does that change the rating? Does
I
it
know,
go from
yeah,
like
yeah.
PG-13
yeah,
to
it's
R?
like if you want to put if you wanted to do the boner poke, we're gonna have to bump it up for R. Like there's 2 ratings. Like if you see it in D-Box, it's R.
So with the Romancing the Stone one, it would just like poke up and stay there because he was just like totally chilling in there talking
Like
about
the
the
whole
boat.
time you'd have this discomfort where it's like, oh, come on.
Oh, this is how she feels.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like, you know how PG-13 you can get one F word?
Yeah.
Maybe you get like
One poke.
You're good. You're good.
Oh no.
No more pokes after that, or we're going up a rating.
Suddenly D-Box becomes really popular.
Yeah. It's like,
Oh,
what's up
no.
with D-Box?
Yeah, maybe we're not using it to its full potential
know.
here.
we haven't untapped the value of that, the real potential of that technology. Yeah,
Just you wait.
I'm not a fan of the D-Box.
Yeah,
It doesn't work for me.
I feel like it has to be the right movie. Like the first movie I saw in the Cinedome at ArcLight was A Good Day to Die Hard, and so like that's a good movie for that like hex speaker surround. And then like the next movie I saw with my mother-in-law and wife, Inside Llewyn Davis, which was like, why is this even in the Cinerama Dome? Like, why? Like, why? Like, that was the worst. Why? There's no reason you need like the surround sound. They should have like a Cinedome for movies like that, like hipster movies like that. Like, I enjoyed it, but you gotta know your movie. That was a hipster movie. Like a little fake art house theater, like a fake, like your own mini vista in the arc light that
small
you can watch
and cramped, and there's only 20 seats.
Yeah, you're like, even though, no, that wasn't the vista. Sorry, I went to. You guys might know which one this is. It was like near the Universal City, but it was the one with the like lounge chairs, and that's where I saw Fate of the Furious. It was,
and there's a theater at City Walk.
Yeah,
but
I think it's the Cinemarks that have like lounge chairs.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how dope that is. I'm like, this is a new move.
Yeah, like there's like the Artists United over here that has that.
It's just like you're watching it at home, so you just like you get your feet kicked all the way up. You're like, hell yeah, let's go.
Nice.
We're deep into it.
Man, the Fast and Furious movies must be really cool in D-Box though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, or like
I guess it's just like engine rumble.
Yeah.
Or like I saw
Like
Audience, you missed a really sassy hip movement there from Ify.
I was just imagining it, and I got deep into it. I was like, I was there. I was using the D-Box.
yeah, so I don't want to be like the down note, but this was actually worse than I expected it to be.
Oh.
Yeah, it was kind of fun, but I guess I had this rose-colored memory of this being a better movie. It seemed kind of lackluster.
it definitely didn't have the things I thought I remembered in it. So I don't know what movie I'm remembering.
I kind of felt like they were more in the wilderness in my memory. And it's like, well, they're just hanging around Cartagena. Like they're in little villages and like, I don't know, maybe I was
think you're
thinking
getting it mixed up with 7 Days, 7 Nights, or whatever that movie
6
is.
days and 7
7
nights.
I don't
whatever.
know that I've seen that.
Or maybe Jewel of the Nile. Maybe they're more
I-
in the jungle.
You know, actually, I'm probably thinking a lot about Temple of Doom. Like that's, you know, because it's the same sort of like high maintenance rich girl, you know, roguish adventure guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I guess I was expecting Temple of Doom. They even had like not exactly the rope bridge scene.
Yeah.
You know, they had crocodiles.
Yeah.
You know, and I was thinking stone.
Yeah.
You know? So that was probably what I was expecting.
Yeah, I'm kind of on your side on this one, but not for like a very specific reason, and it's pacing. There's a lot of stuff that I like to watch in this movie, but like I think about she showed up, and then there's like the bus scene, and that was kind of just going on for a while, and then
Yeah, it was kind of a
like,
slow start.
finally they got to the like this guy's the bad guy, and then what happened between there and when they got to the drug dealer's house? Something happened. I don't remember what already. Like they were like
Mudslide?
just walking.
Yeah.
Marijuana plane.
Yeah, like, and then they leave the drug dealer's house, and then where'd they go after that? Like, there's
That's when they
something
went
happened.
to the village and they got the new clothes.
Yeah, there's too much of just a bunch of something that I don't remember in between the things that
like
were interesting.
Car chase, pause, car chase, pause, car chase, pause.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Also, sorry. I was just saying it took so long for us to see the hero too. Like I was like, all right,
Yeah.
cool.
Totally.
But like in the end, I think it's because it was more about her. But
Yeah.
I feel like the marketing, if you look at it, it looks like it's about him.
Totally, yeah.
So, you know.
But if you look at the intro,
Yeah.
the Western story, it is clearly a micro version of the whole story.
Yeah.
It takes a while for the hero to appear. It's really her story.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. And she even does the knife throw. Like,
Yeah.
but it doesn't work because he has super fast reflexes, even though his arm just got bit off.
Yeah, and the reality is cooler because she kicks him into a fucking alligator.
Yeah, that's true.
I agree with Ify here. Like, it's just something to enjoy for the fun and silliness of it.
Yeah.
Like, if you expect it to be anything more, you're gonna be really disappointed.
Yeah.
But it's just
Yeah, I'm certainly not saying it's a bad movie. It was a fun movie. Like, this gets a positive review, but I guess I was expecting more.
You had a memory that was more than this.
Yeah, and my love for Zemeckis might have gotten into that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it didn't really feel like anything special about it in that term.
Without being able to remember anything about this other movie, it reminds me a lot of my grandma's favorite movie, which was Overboard.
Oh.
Yes, I was thinking about Overboard before we started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not off. I just thought
I've never seen it.
It's Overboard-ish. Yeah. In fact, I could see them getting on the sailboat, and then the movie turns into Overboard.
all right.
Oh, that's dark.
Well, she doesn't die. She just loses her memory.
Yeah, but he's kind of weird and rapey. Like, he kidnaps her.
Whoa, spoilers.
Yeah,
You
I guess
find
I
that
don't
out real
remember all
quick.
that.
All right.
Sorry.
That's why they always cast him as the bad guy.
Was that him, though?
That wasn't Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
That was it Dennis Quaid?
I think that sounds right.
Was
I
it the
can't-
crazy Quaid?
It was a Randy Quaid. You're my wife now. We're going to Canada. Hillary's after us. And get in the boat.
Oh my god. Wow. Who was driving that boat at the end? Was he just getting towed? Or?
Maybe it's
likely.
DeVito.
Maybe it's
DeVito, yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe it was that guy who was obviously at the table with them at the beginning of the movie.
Oh my God,
and
yeah.
we never saw. Like, I want to go into that guy's life who brought like all his friends to the premiere, and then he sits there and goes,
And he's, like,
"Don't
cut
worry,
out of the
don't
film."
worry, y'all. I'm like in one of the. You can leave after a while because I'm in the first opening scene, hanging out.
With these two ladies.
Two ladies. I'm like those sassy gay friend. Like that's me. That's what I feel like in the '80s movie. I felt like that's what that character would have been. Like the sassy gay friend. Like, yeah, you need a man. You know, and then they're like, you know what? We're gonna move past this stereotype. We're cutting you out the movie.
But his hands are in the
"There's my
shot.
hand."
Yeah. His hand, my hands.
No, it's
Those are my hands.
He's like,
You know, those
credited.
are my hands. You know, I always wear that watch.
What's the union scale for hands?
I know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, probably like 500 at the time.
It's probably that publisher's poor PA
yeah.
that she
Oh,
just
man.
she drags everywhere
Oh
to
my
like
gosh,
be
yeah.
the
Imagine
DD.
there's this extended cut where it's like her and the PA's adventures, and like she keeps checking in with her. I use my mic as a phone, so if you didn't hear me that last part, it's because I was using it as a prop. But like she keeps checking in with her throughout the movie, and like they are having like a sassy interaction, and all that was cut for time.
So, Overboard, Kurt Russell. And let me put this in your head. This movie with Kurt Russell. That's a movie.
Yeah, that would have been
Right?
better.
Yeah,
That's who this character was.
Yeah,
This was
yeah,
a
yeah,
Kurt
yeah.
Russell character.
Oh yeah, 100%. I saw it a few times. Like I kept thinking Snake Plissken. You
Yeah.
know, like
He
it
could have
just
carried off
the
that
hair.
rogue
Yeah,
who like is going to leave her, but kind of comes through in the end.
yeah, because like there's a part of it where like you know he's still bad, but like it's because it's him. Like he has to be this way to survive in the jungle.
Yeah.
And Michael Douglas wasn't giving me. He just looked like a bad man who wants to like wants to ditch out on his taxes and ruin Wall Street, and then be a scientist who yells a lot.
And plays games.
But yeah. Please we got fit in the game. What other movies has he done? Sorry, Michael Douglas. I know you're listening.
Big fan of the show.
Yeah. I gotta see what kind of movies are they gonna do. My movie soon. My movie, Romancing the Stone. That's the movie that I know I'm known for.
Man, the game is so good though.
Oh, Basic Instinct.
It is. I would really like to do the game on the podcast.
Romancing the Stone is the third listed in like his like Google roundup. So
What
it's
you know
Falling
him
Down, Basic Instinct, Romancing the Stone, then Ant-Man, Fatal Attraction, The Game, Wall Street, The War of Roses.
I love there was a episode of Comedy Bang Bang where they're like they're behind they're like at the catering table or whatever before the show starts. And Scott Aukerman walks up to Reggie Watts and he's like, "Did you see the game last night?" And Reggie's like, "Yeah." Michael Douglas is so good. Just such a great little. Yeah.
That's amazing. So
when is this coming out?
This episode?
Yeah. I was going to use that to wedge a plug, but we're having Reggie Watts do white women's.
cool.
Yeah, he's gonna,
shit.
He's going to be the monologist for our show.
What will it be on YouTube?
No, it's improv, so improv does not
When
live
is
well
it?
taped. It is May, the second Friday of May.
Oh.
So,
12.
Miss it.
yeah.
Yeah, but if y'all want to go,
Yeah,
let me know. Yeah, I'll
totally.
get you guys comps. No problem.
I saw Reggie Watch. Like I went to see his show one time,
Yeah.
some theater in LA, and it was fucking distracting the whole time because Colin Hanks sat in front of me.
Oh man,
I was like, how can I deal with this?
I've picked him up naked before. I was naked.
Wait,
not
yeah,
him.
what?
Oh,
wait,
yeah.
wait, back up.
Okay, so Colin Hanks oftentimes.
Where's your hand grip?
I actually have a picture of it, but Colin Hanks.
Gonna see Colin Hanks' dong.
well, I was the naked one, so.
We're gonna see
Plot
Izzy's
twist.
dong.
Yeah, plot twist. Colin Hanks likes to come and he'll be a judge for Tournament of the Nerds at UCB, and he was there the Christmas Tournament of Nerds when I was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and basically I didn't have a shirt on the whole time. And one of the judges was like, "Why don't you have a shirt on?" And they're like, and I was like, "Because reindeers don't wear shirts." I was like, "Yeah, but they don't wear jeans either." And I was like, "Yeah, but Hal said I couldn't come on stage naked." So then they tried to call my bluff and was like, "All right, well, Ify, you keep asking, you can be naked on stage." And I just dropped my pants. And so Colin Hanks was like right there, so he was just staring right at my penis. And so then I come on again, and I was coming on as Magic Mike, the movie. And he just immediately was like, "Oh no." Like he just was very visible, and like Hal pointed out that fact that the last time he was on the show, he saw my dick. So like the whole time I was stripping to him, and then I just like pick him up at one point
Oh my God.
with my pants down.
I like how you delivered that like his face was off.
Yeah.
His pants were down.
Yeah, just down. It was great.
Oh my
He
God.
like just true horror. Like I was like, you gave it away. I'm coming for you, Colin.
Wow.
Let's see.
The things you missed by not going to UCB.
I know. Yeah.
This is
You
like
miss-
go check out White Women. Is it at UCB?
Yeah. It used to be every second Friday. We do Your Token Friend. We have a guest come on, and we have a guest come on, and we have them tell a story about being a token, and we do improv based off of it.
That sounds hilarious.
Yeah. So come see that.
It looks like you're Heimlicking him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the best way to phrase that.
He's tried so hard to get out that grip. My grip was strong.
So now he has a restraining order on you.
This is a perfect.
Oh man.
Yeah, he's
His
not
face.
happy. Not happy. He's not a happy
You made
dude.
Colin Hanks sad.
He knew I was coming right for him. I was coming right for him. He knew. He just knew. He was like, it's my favorite because he's just like, oh no.
Yeah.
You can see in his face, he knows that it's coming.
That is the face of regret.
Oh,
He's like, why did I come here?
yeah. Why do I do
You never
this?
should have come here.
I know.
So let's get our final thoughts on.
Oh, yeah.
I keep almost saying Jewel of the Nile, but let's get our final thoughts on Romancing the Stone. Sam, your final.
I really liked it. It was fun and cheesy. I don't think it's a movie that I'll sit down and like pay 100% attention to the next time I watch it, but it's fun to have on like in the background. And
Are you itching to see Jewel of the Nile?
I remember not liking Jewel of the Nile the last time I watched it. I was like, whew, that one did not hold up. So I don't know. I'm not itching to watch it. I hope I'm wrong.
I remember you said you were mixing up the beginning and end. So do you know if you did or
I
did
remembered this ending with
Okay,
the
so that's the
crocodiles.
one,
And I was
okay.
like, Jewel of the Nile? Like, Nile has to be the one with the crocodiles, not this one. But no.
That's a good point. And if I say, I'm going to sound so stupid, but are there crocodiles in Colombia?
That's the thing is I kind of
guess I
don't
don't
think
No,
so.
they
I
have
think
the ones in the jungle,
I
but they're
guess
not called
That
crocodiles. They're
dude was
called
like
something
collecting
else.
crocodiles.
Okay, yeah. he
yeah,
might
that's
have
true.
shipped
There's
them
no
in
reason to
somewhere.
fact check that.
Yeah.
Now that Bret ruined that moment
80s
for us.
movie, you know, logic, 80s movie.
Well, that
logic.
was like the number one villain pet was a crocodile or shark.
That's true.
What do you think, Brett?
I give this movie the más o menos hand wave and a shrug. It was all right. But yeah, for the reasons I talked about, I kind of wish more stuff happened, either jokes or action, but there wasn't enough of either.
Something. I would say exactly what you just said. Yeah, it was just it's all right. You know, it's interesting to see that Zemeckis had such a drastic upturn in his very next movie and the rest of his fucking career. But yeah, it was just like it was all right. What do you think, Ash?
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, but I do think that it's all right. Like I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to watch it again, but I enjoyed watching it this time. I'm actually really curious to watch Jewel of the Nile now because I think that's the film I remember more.
Oh.
So I think I was remembering things. Is Danny DeVito in that one too?
Yeah, they're all three in there.
I think that's the one I'm remembering. So I'm curious to watch that one.
You can borrow it.
And then you got to watch War of the Roses. That's like their reunion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they all come back for that one too. All right, Ify, your final thoughts?
Yeah, as a guy who loves watching fun, cheesy, goofy 80s movies, I'd say I enjoyed it. I liked it. There's something, I don't know. I feel like because every movie in the 80s was on the same wavelength, so I still get that same feeling as a kid when it just shows up on TBS, so you just watch it. Like I've seen so many parts of movies. Like if you like so little of movies have I seen all the way through. But you know, I actually, you know, soundtrack didn't bug me as much. I feel the same way as you do, where it's just that's kind of the times, you know, and I feel like it might be played out and cheesy now. Like I feel like back in the day, that sax, you know, was like, oh, that's up for an Academy, I'm sure. You know? That being said, if I had to give it like a grade using like all my knowledge and taste in movie, I'd say a 7 out of 10.
That's fair.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the thing you said for a question to everyone, if you turn on the TV and it's on, watch or change channel.
Oh.
We've talked about that phenomenon before with movies of this era that we've seen from like 20 minutes deep on.
Yeah.
Because it would just be on Comedy Central.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it was a long time before I saw Ferris Bueller telling his parents he was sick.
Yeah.
You know, but I saw that movie a lot of times. I always started 15, 20 minutes in.
Yeah. I feel like I'd keep it on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'd probably not change channel.
I probably would.
I think I would change the channel too, but in like 5 or 10 years, I would watch it.
You would,
You know,
you would change it to video games.
yeah,
You would be like, Uncharted.
yeah.
That's
Oh
what-
yeah, I love that video game.
You know
I'm gonna
what?
go
That's-
play it.
That's so funny that you bring that up because I totally forgot to say it. But if I was watching the intro and that happened, I'd turn on Red Dead. Like I really wanted to play Red Dead seeing that opening because it just really felt that.
Yeah. Have you seen the stills for the new one?
I haven't seen the stills. I've seen like the updated trailer where you see like a little
Man,
bit.
It
but-
looks good.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. Rockstar, like it's so funny. People on Reddit are like, Rockstar, don't mess this up. Rockstar doesn't mess up. They have some stumbles when they start, but it's usually the same thing. Usually their online isn't ready right out the gate. But I think from now to the end of time, online will never be ready because you can never anticipate how many users are going to use your program, and you're not going to pay for more. Like you're not going to pay for more server space until you're sure.
Always going over book seats.
Yeah.
The justification I've always heard is the only time you'll ever have that much traffic is day one.
Yeah.
So like fuck it, because well, it's going to be trash
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly.
Yeah, and then you have the right amount of servers.
Yes.
I could go for another Borderlands.
Ooh,
yeah.
I love
Is that
me
Rockstar?
no,
I
that's
thought that was-
Gearbox.
Yeah, Gearbox.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was thinking Rockstar.
Rockstar is Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto, the L.A. Noire. I've been a big Rockstar fan because they're one of those. They're like the A24 of video games, where it's like they're not dropping a lot of stuff, but it's like spaced out. Even though now A24, I think they're on a hot streak now. I think Moonlight and all that has given them like some money, so now they're dropping shit like constantly. But before it was like A24 was once every blue moon you get a like banger movie. It's a real deep cut for all my movie heads out there. I feel like A24 is kind of well known. If you don't know, they did
Funny,
Moonlight.
like I know the logo.
Yeah.
I just can't place any specific movie to them.
Yeah, I think Moonlight was the last big thing they'd done, and then they got one out that I forgot. Yeah. I think they did Gerard Carmichael's stand-up special too.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that though.
Well, we will.
Yeah, I
It
should
was
check that out.
recorded.
Yeah.
I should check that out because I love the Carmichael show.
Oh yeah,
That show's so fucking good.
it's a good special. I'm interested to what you, because it's like, it's Gerard. I was able to see him do so much stuff because I worked at the Improv, and just kind of, he was always nice, and we always happened to be at clubs, and he has like a formula, but it's still good. Like it's still good, and I like the formula. So, but the Carmichael show is good. I watched a few episodes like when it was first airing, and then I just kind of, it was, when I always do, when something's just not the right, like I wasn't able to give it enough attention to really appreciate it. And then I watched it the second time, and like the intro gave me chills because it was very reminiscent to like every black sitcom. Like the intro song is so similar to your typical black sitcom that you would have back in the day. Like
I definitely feel Cosby Show every now and then when I watch it.
yeah. So I'm in, I'm locked in. So
Yeah.
also book me on the show, Gerard. We know each other. I mean, we don't know each
I
other
would
like
love
that.
to see you on Carmichael
That'd
show.
be great.
That'd be so
Like
great.
it's so funny because it's so interesting when you see the way Hollywood works, because you can tell like from the jump he'd like to have all his boys on, but now it's season 2, and now he's getting like the roast battle guys on, those guys on. Like it's like, yeah, you gotta give up that first season, and then second season you start to be able to do what you want.
Yeah. So where are we going to see? Like, so you said every week at
every second Friday at UCB Sunset, 10:30. White Women. We have Your Token Friend. I'll be doing stand up all around town. My album is going to be taped on the 31st of May, so you should just be on the lookout for it. And if you want to know, you could just follow me on @IfY'sNotFunny on Twitter, or That Black Nerd on Instagram, and I'll give you info on that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Was your Twitter handle an intentional dig at Hector, or
No, that just so happened. Like we found out when we were on a show together, and we both said our handles, and we were like, "Oh wow, we totally did that."
Who said it first?
Yeah.
I know. I think
Like, I'm Hector is funny.
I think I said it first,
I'm
and
if
Hector
he's
was like,
not
"Oh,
funny."
that was similar," and he said his, and I was like, "Oh."
Awesome. So thanks for joining us for
Of course.
Romancing the Stone.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
7 out of 10.
Yeah, 7 out of 10, baby.
If you like this show, this is part of the Last Dash TV network of content. It's this podcast and a YouTube channel where there's a drinking show with me and Ash, a cooking
And
show. Oh, yeah, and Ify's on an
Ify.
episode.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
if he's
Yeah,
on
that
our
dropped.
Harry Potter episode.
That was fun. Yeah.
Oh my god, that was some of the most ridiculous
Oh,
times
it was so
on
fun.
Let's Drink.
Mm.
Voldemort and
Swoldemort. Yes.
Swoldemort. Yeah.
God.
Sometimes you gotta get swole.
you gotta watch it.
That was too good.
And yeah, so you can follow us on Twitter as well at LaughStashTV, and then follow this podcast at Let's Rewatch. And if you follow us on Twitter, we will post polls from time to time letting you vote which movie we should watch. So you guys chose Romancing the Stone. So thanks for that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And if you liked our podcast or hated it, please give us a review on iTunes or Google Play Music. Bret's serious. He really likes your negative reviews and your positive reviews, so bring it on, baby.
Oh, no. No.
And make sure your subscriptions are all up to date. We'll be seeing you again in another 2 weeks for another episode of Let's Rewatch.
Yeah, next time we're going to be watching Jersey Shore Shark Attack.
Oh, no. Is that like
An uplifting
Sharknado,
tale.
but with orange season?